So Nintendo's made an acquisition. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Does it even matter? I suppose we're going to find out. It's the LP Podcast. Hello and happy Tuesday. It's the day of the week where I do more talking than playing of Nintendo games, but Nintendo's the topic all the same, specifically their acquisition of Shiver Entertainment, a small boutique game developer studio headquartered in Miami, Florida. This was just announced in the last 48 hours, and it means a couple of things, at least initially, right? If you're not familiar with Shiver, first and foremost, I guess that's fine because, like I said, they're not a huge company, but the things that they've predominantly worked on as it relates to Nintendo are ports. I know that they worked on Hogwarts Legacy. I know that they worked on Mortal Kombat, and for others, they've also worked on things like FIFA or Madden, a couple of sports titles there. So it would seem that Nintendo is prioritizing an in-house porting team, someone who can help them create or adapt games that are from third parties, right? That seems to be the general consensus, and put them on both the Nintendo Switch and other consoles, because in Nintendo's press release, that's specifically what they said. They didn't just say about adapting games for the Nintendo Switch, but then again, why would they? Because as we know already, they've got another console coming out here in the next 2 years. So Shiver is undoubtedly going to get a ton of work as Nintendo tries to position themselves for the larger games that are coming. You think something like, what, GTA 6, perhaps? I don't know exactly what the next Nintendo console is going to look like in the way of technical specs, whether or not it's going to be powerful or capable enough of getting really all that you want out of a GTA 6, but seeing what Shiver did with Hogwarts Legacy, a pretty large and resource-intensive game, I guess it's all subjective, right? But you get what I'm saying. Larger and more resource-intensive than, I suppose, some of the other Nintendo Switch games out there, and they made it run all right. And then, of course, the aforementioned sports titles, right? FIFA and Madden. Those are gaming franchises that are always centered around, I guess, looks rather than gameplay. Because there's really not so much you can innovate on already pre-established sporting events. But the point here is, I think this is good. I think it's exciting, number two. And I think it's also it's something that is going to afford Nintendo room to grow in this ever-changing gaming environment. You know, we've seen news in the past few weeks of Microsoft shutting down studios, right? Microsoft acquiring specifically and then shutting down studios. And to see Nintendo acquire a studio, I suppose could be, worrisome if they were run like Microsoft, but Nintendo is not run like Microsoft. While they do prioritize profit above all else, they very much want to maintain their brand integrity and consistency, and they're not going to make any sort of acquisition like this if they don't have, well, significant plans for the studio. So while we're all throwing out a bunch of hypotheses, something like that, whether or not we're doing a bunch of guesswork, and we are, is irrelevant to the fact that they're going to be utilizing Shiver Studios for something here, probably in the very near future. Some people have actually even surmised that they might task Shiver with adapting and porting older games, older Nintendo games. You know, we have the Thousand Year Door remake coming out later this week, things of that nature. Now, Shiver doesn't have any direct experience doing stuff like that. I'm on their website right now, and they mention here some of the games they've worked on, right? Mortal Kombat, Madden, FIFA, Need for Speed, and Guitar Hero. Okay, so some more interesting ones. And then the Scribblenauts as well, you can see off on the left. But as for porting older games to newer systems, it doesn't look like that's quite something they've dealt with, but I'm sure that there is no shortage of talent at the team. And look at this, they're hiring too. So hey, if you're a fledgling game developer looking for a new career under the greater Nintendo umbrella, send yourself out an application. So there we have it. It's a big deal anytime a major publisher acquires a studio, right? Especially when it's Nintendo. There's undoubtedly big plans. I can only guess that this means a higher focus on getting third-party titles to the next generation of Nintendo consoles. Given the success of the Nintendo Switch, all of the third-party developers, no doubt, have Nintendo in their headlights, all right? They are very keenly aware of the market share that Nintendo's commanding, the type of, significant amount of households that Nintendo finds themselves in with the Switch, and no doubt will continue to find themselves in with the Switch's successor. Even if the Switch's successor is, shall we say, a disappointment, it's going to sell extraordinarily well initially, right? And third-party game developers are going to want a piece of that. They're going to want to get their game in there, and Nintendo is setting themselves up here to facilitate that as well as possible. And I think that's a fantastic idea. What about you? Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I hope that you enjoy yourself. I do this every Tuesday, and I will see you again next week.